Today's lesson is on comparing and ordering fractions. To compare fractions, you are always going to look at the denominators. The denominator is the bottom part of the fraction. If the denominator is the same, they are called like fractions. If they are different, then they are called unlike fractions. So to compare unlike fractions, you have to find a common denominator. You guys did this in 6th grade to find the least common multiple. So our example here says Taylor has 1/3 teaspoon of cayenne pepper. She needs 1/4 teaspoon to make Honey Jones horseshoe chili. It says, does she have enough cayenne pepper for the recipe? So the first thing we have to do is compare and order 1/3 and 1/4. Okay, we have to find the common denominator. So a common denominator between 1/3 and 1/4 is going to be 12. Okay, my thing. So we want to change both of these to have the denominator of 12. So you're going to ask yourself, what did you do with the 3 to get to 12? Well, you multiplied by 4. That's how you got 12. To keep this to make an equal or an equivalent fraction, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. So you multiply by 4 on the bottom, so you multiply by 4 at the top. 4 times 1 is 4. And for 1/4, you're going to ask yourself, what did you do with 4 to get to 12? Okay, you multiplied by 3. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. That's just like multiplying by 1. So these are equivalent fractions to the fraction that you see here. So we have 4/12 and 3/12. She needs 1/3, but she only has 3/12, right? Is that what the problem said? Oh, it says she has 1/3, but she needs 1/4. I have to switch that up. Okay, so does she have enough? She has 1/3, but she needs 1/4. Does she have enough? Yes, she does, because 4/12 is bigger than 3/12. Okay, so to compare and order these fractions, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to find the common denominator and figure out, and then look at the numerators to see which one is greater than, less than, or equal to. So we have 6/12 and 3/9. What number can 12 and 9? A common factor of 12 and 9, or common multiple, excuse me, of 12 and 9. Okay, a common one is going to be 12 times 2, 3, 4, 9, will be 36. Okay, you can use any one whenever you're comparing fractions. You just always want to use the smallest one, because then when you start to simplify, that helps simplifying. Okay, so what did we do with the 12 to get to 36? Well, we multiplied by 3. Since we multiplied by 3 on the bottom, we're going to do the same thing at the top. 6 times 3 is 18. What did we do with the 9 to get to 36? We multiplied by 4. 9 times 4 is 36. 3 times 4 is 12. So for this fraction, 6/12 is greater than 3/9 because 18 is greater than 12. Once you have the denominators that are the same, you will just look at the numerator. Okay, so let's try this next one together. We have 9 and 3. We want to change both of these to have a common denominator. Well, a common denominator for both of those would be 9. So we didn't have to do anything with the 9, so the 4/9 will stay the same. What did we do with the 3 to get to 9? We multiplied by 3. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top to keep it equal or an equivalent fraction. So 2 times 3 is 6. So 4/9 is less than 2/3 because 4 is less than 6. Try these next two on your own. You can pause the video and start it after you finish. Okay, so we have 3 and 36. We want to get the common multiple or common denominator for the bottom. So we have 3 and we have 36. A common multiple is going to be 36. We don't have to do anything with 24 over 36. What do we do with the 3 to get to 36? we multiplied by 12. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 2 times 12 is 24. So we have 24 36 and 24 36. So 2/3 is equal to 24 36 because they are the same. The next one, 24 and 12. 24 is going to be the common denominator. And so 9/24 is going to stay the same. Okay, so what do we do with the 12 to get to 24? We multiplied by 2. 12 times 2 is 24. 4 times 2, because whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top, is 8. So 4/12 equals 8/24. 4/12 is also less than 9/24. So let's try the next one. This one says compare 2/3, 5/8, and 5/6. So when you still have three fractions, you still want to find the common denominator between all three. So what's a common denominator between 3, 8, and 6? That would be 24. So we're going to change all of the denominators to be 24. Then you're going to go to each one and say, what did I do with this number to get to 24? What did you do with the 3 to get to 24? You multiplied by 8. So whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 2 times 8 is 16. What did we do with the 8 to get to 24? You multiplied by 3. 5 times 3 is 15. What did you do with the 6 to get to 24? You multiplied by 4. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay. Now, with these fractions that we just did, we want to put them in order with their new, based on their new numerators, but you're going to keep it in this same form. Okay. So in order from, it doesn't say. So let's just go from least to greatest. Okay. So the smallest one out of all of these is going to be 5/8 because 15 is the smallest number. So we have 5/8, then 2/3 because then 16 is next, and last is 5/6. Notice I put them back in the original form that it was in. Okay. All right. So let's try this next one. It says Gerald drilled a hole that is 5/6 inches wide. He has a screw that is 5/8 inches wide. Is the hole wide enough to fit the screw? Why or why not? So he has 5/6, or the hole is 5/6, but his screw is 5/8. So we have to figure out if 5/6 or the 5/8 screw will fit in the 5/6 hole. Again, we're going to get the common denominator. Common denominator between 6 and 8 is, let's do 24 again. Okay. What did we do with the 6 to get to 24? Multiplied by 4. 5 times 4, sorry, I wrote that wrong. 5 times 4 is 20. What do we do with the 3 to get to 24? We multiplied by 3. Sorry, what do we do with the 8 to get to 24? We multiplied by 3. Remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 5 times 3 is 15. So 5/6 was the hole, and 5/8 is the screw. We need to know if the hole is big enough for the screw. Well, the hole is 20/24 and the screw is 15/24. So is the hole big enough? Yes, it is, because it is bigger than the screw. Okay. Now this says order from least to greatest. Remember, you're going to find the common denominator between 5, 4, 2, and 5. So we have 3/5, 1/4, 1/2, and 2/5. What's a common denominator between 5, 4, and 2? It would be 20. So to get from 5 to 20, we multiply by 4. 4 times 3 is 12. To get from 4 to 20, we multiply by 5. 5 times 1 is 5. To get from 2 to 20, we multiply by 10. 10 times 1 is 10. To get from 5 to 20, we multiply by 4. 4 times 2 is 8. Okay, so we see what the equivalent fractions are, but remember when you put them in order, they need to be in the original form. So, greatest to least, so we want the biggest fraction. Well, the biggest number out of 12, 5, and 10, and 8 is 12, so 3/5 is going to be first. The next biggest number is 10, so 1/2 is next. Then 2/5, and last but not least is 1/4. Okay, remember to find the common denominator and then put the fractions in order compared to their numerators. This is the same thing, it just says use a number line, so you guys can try this one on your own. You can pause the video. Okay, oh, well these are the fractions, sorry. So we have 3/5, 1/4, 1/2, and 2/5. Okay, in order on the number line. So we have 0 all the way to 1 and 2. Okay, 3/5, 1/4, 1/2. Well, 1/2, we know that that is going to be halfway in between 1 and 0. So there's 1/2. And we know 1/4 is halfway in between 1/2 and 0. So there's 1/4. Now 3/5 and 2/5. The equivalent fractions were 12/20 and 8/20. Here's 8/20 and 12/20. So which one do you think is going to come first on the number line? Is it going to be past 1? No, it's not, because 1 whole with these denominators would be 20/20, or 5/5. We know that 2/5 is smaller than 3/5, so 2/5 is going to come before 3/5 and then 3/5. But make sure that they are before the 1. Okay? This one says, Ms. Warren's 6th period class has 16 out of the 20 seats occupied. What fraction shows the number of empty seats? Okay? So we know that there are 20 total seats. We know that fractions also have part over the whole. So the part is always going to be the numerator, and the whole is always going to be the denominator. So we know that there are 20 total seats, so that's going to be our denominator, and 16 of those are occupied. But what does this fraction represent? It represents the occupied seats. We want the empty seats. So what are we going to do to figure out how many seats are empty? Well, if there are 20 total seats and there are 16 that are occupied, you're going to subtract to figure out what's left. So 20 minus 16 is 4 out of the 20 seats are empty. But we always simplify. So we have to figure out what number can go into 4 and 20 to make this fraction a little bit smaller. Well, 4 can go into both. So we are going to simplify the top and the bottom by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. So the fraction of seats that are empty is 1/5. You can put these in order from least to greatest. Pause the video, put them in order, and then start the video and check and see if you're right. Okay? So we have 6 3/4, 6 1/2, 6 5/6, and 6 3/8. So you want to get the common denominators again. The common denominator between 4, 2, 6, and 8 is going to be 24. Okay. What did we do with the 4 to get to 24? Well, we multiplied by 6. Remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. 3 times 6 is 18. What did you do with the 2 to get to 24? You multiplied by 12. 12 times 1 is 12. Get from 6 to 24, you multiply by 4. 4 times 5 is 20. 8 to 24, you multiply by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And all of the whole numbers are 6. So now, putting these in order from least to greatest, you should have 6 1/2. Sorry. First should be 6 3/8. Then 6 1/2. then 6 3/4, and last but not least is 6 5/6. Remember to put them back in the original fraction form that they were in. The last one says Callie read 40 pages of her 200-page book. Kyle read 60 pages of his 220-page book, and Kaylee read 70 pages of a 350-page book. Which student read the same fraction of their book? Okay, so two of these people read the same amount. So Callie read 40 out of 200. Kyle read 60 out of his 220. And Kaylee read 70 out of her 350-page book. Okay. Whenever you have fractions, if the numerator and the denominator have zeros, that's like dividing by 10. So you can just cross the zeros out. Okay. But it has to be a 0 on the top and the bottom. So now we have 4/20, 6 over 22, and 7 over 35. We simplified that, but we can still simplify more. If we divide the numerator and the denominator by 4, 4 divided by 4 is 1. 20 divided by 4 is 5. What can go into 6 and 22? Well, that's 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 22 divided by 2 is 11. What can go into 7 and 35? 7 can go into both. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So who read the same fraction of their book? Well, 1/5 matches 1/5 once you simplify. So Callie and Kaylee read their same fraction of their book. Remember, when you are comparing and ordering fractions, you have to find the common denominator. And if you're putting them in order, put them back in the original form or the original fraction that was in the problem. Okay?